Hey, it's Mario here, and in this quick video I decided to address the issue of how do you lose weight without exercise. And I admit this isn't a very frequently asked question, but I do get it sometimes, so I decided to address the issue in this video. Also give you the overall context of what happens when you do decide to lose weight without exercise, how do you do it, and also which situations this could be a good idea. So let's dive into it. How do you do it? Well, the overall principle of fat loss, nutrition, and weight loss is that you want to be in a caloric deficit. If your goal is to lose weight, you need to be in a negative energy balance. You need to enter that caloric deficit, which happens when you basically restrict the amount of calories coming into the body, so it's less than the demand that your body has from energy expenditure. That means that your body is forced to burn fat to compensate for the lack of energy. Basically, you're entering a deficit and a negative energy balance. So that's the overall principle of every single diet out there, and that is the most important principle for this diet as well. The second most important one is to get a sufficient amount of protein from your diet, and then you want to distribute the remainder of calories between carbohydrate and fat the way it suits you the most. And then now the final principle here is that you want to find the amount of foods and these carbohydrate and fat ratios that suit your lifestyle the most. So some people don't have a problem with going low carb, some people like to go high carb. This is definitely your personal choice. Whatever choice you make sure that it's sustainable for you and that it fits your personal preference when it comes to which foods you eat, and also general sustainability and looking at this long term. So what are the consequences of someone trying to lose weight without exercise? And this obviously depends on the context of the situation. So if someone is a firefighter, someone who is active all day, someone who is, let's say, a construction worker, someone who is engaged in activity in general through their work, they don't really need to exercise that much, and maybe even get away with zero exercise, right? Because you're already very active. So you can definitely enter a caloric deficit, get a sufficient amount of protein, you're gonna end up with a pretty decent looking body and be very lean. But if you're a sedentary person who is doing a 9 to 5, you're driving to work, driving back from work, or using public transport where you're not really walking a lot. In general, you're not very active because, let's say you come back home, you're super tired, you watch TV or just sit by your computer. I mean, in that case, exercising is a must. In that case, losing weight without exercise is really not gonna lead to any good looking physique for most standards out there. So basically, even if you do lose a bunch of weight, even if you lose a lot of weight, you're just gonna end up from being fat or overweight or whatever you want to call it to skinny fat, because there is a problem when you don't build any muscle. And not only that, you will lose a significant amount of muscle regardless of the protein intake, regardless of all the other factors. If you're not doing exercise, your body doesn't have a reason to keep the muscle mass. It doesn't have a reason to build new muscle mass, and that is the key to actually looking great. And not only that, you're gonna have to drop a lot more weight to actually get to a decent lean state, and you can pretty much say goodbye to a six-pack if you're doing zero exercise, because that's gonna be extremely difficult if you're trying to do that without performing any activity. So that's kind of the biggest thing there, is that getting into that caloric deficit as well, it's going to be very hard, because if you're sedentary and doing zero exercise, you don't have any energy expenditure coming in, and that makes it very difficult because you have to restrict your food intake quite a bit to get into a caloric deficit. This makes the diet very hard to sustain because you're going to be more hungry, less food coming in. Additionally, without exercise, you're going to feel a lot more hungry, because exercise does suppress appetite. This has been well documented in research, both for cardiovascular and high intensity training, such as strength training and any weightlifting, basically suppresses appetite. So this factor, once eliminated from the diet, makes the diet very hard. And if you look at the long-term research of a combination of diet plus exercise, the exercise factor actually influences the visceral fat. And there's actually been a great meta-analysis in in 2016 in May, published, where they analyzed that diet is really the thing that is creating most of the caloric deficit. But when you combine the diet with exercise reduces the visceral fat, which is the fat surrounding your internal organs, which is linked to a lot of chronic diseases. So for the sake of health, you want to be exercising, and also for the sake of your mental performance. Obviously, we know that exercise boosts BDNF, which has all sorts of benefits for your brain health, your focus, your mental energy. The general principle, if you want to be productive, you have to be moving around. That's just the general rule. Also, the final factor here is that, as I said there, at the end of it, even if you do lose, the bottom line, like even if you do lose a ton of weight, even if you drop a lot of body fat, you will lose muscle along the way as well, and at the end, you would wish that you did exercise. And that's just a simple fact out there, is that for most people, unless, as I said, you're a construction worker or somebody who has a really heavy, hard physical job, this is not the best idea in the world. So keep that in mind, and the principles apply. So let me know in the comments below actually that which form of exercise do you find the most interesting? Because I know most people asking themselves this question, how do you lose weight without exercise? You might not find the gym very interesting. Maybe you don't find strength training very fun. Like I am, I'm pretty much in love with strength training. I love lifting heavy weights, makes me feel great. But if that's not you, what form of exercise do you like? What kind of movement do you like? Do you like sports? Do you like MMA? What do you like? And even you guys who like gym, what else do you want to do? Like, what is your favorite activity? So let me know in the comments below. Let's share some cool ideas. Aside from that, make ssure to hit that subscribe button below to support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.